to the AFC South, in particular Houston Texans, who had the number 2 pick. And Rick and Emery, they found a way to get the number 3 pick. We talked about that earlier with that trade with the Arizona Cardinals. My favorite pick for this one is Emery likes to say it's chalk. I'm going C.J. Stroud. They also got Will Anderson, who is a candidate certainly for the best pick in this draft for the Texans. But Rick, you've talked about this. You cannot come out of this draft if you're the Houston Texans without getting a quarterback. They had 2 first-rounders in 2 and 12 to start the draft process. I can't imagine a situation, and let me ask you, have you thought about this as a general manager, letting another team in your division, in this case, had the Colts gotten C.J. Stroud, they beat you twice a year, and you have to answer those questions to your owner, your fan base?
Yeah, no, and they needed the quarterback. And then C.J., you heard all the smoke coming out right before the draft and the S2 test, and he's not, he scored very low on that. But like we had talked about in some earlier shows, that's just a total score. But when you dig down and you look at each category that they were graded in, he probably graded very high what was specifically important for the quarterback position. So we never paid attention to the overall score. We paid attention to the scores that required and that were weighted for that position.
And that's important in things that sometimes you don't hear the entire story, and I'm glad you're able to shed some light on that. My hidden gem was Tank Dell. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, because you have a better memory than me somehow, but we talked to him at the Combine, and he's one of 8 brothers and sisters and a wrestler. Was that right?
Yeah, he had a pretty unique, when you found him, and
he's tough, though. You didn't say that to his face. You didn't say that to his face.
He was one that you don't want to mess with. He had an edge to him.
He was incredibly tough. And let me ask you, Emery, because you were at the Senior Bowl with us. You have Tank Dell, you have Darius Davis out of TCU, you have Trey Tucker out of Cincinnati. They're all in the same bucket, so to speak. What did you like about Tank Dell?
The fact that he is someone that explodes out of his break, and we saw that at the top of his route and is able to quickly separate. Now, full caveat, one-on-one drills are heavily slanted toward the wide receiver, especially receivers.
Unless you're Darius Rush, the cornerback out of South Carolina.
Right, because he was locked up one-on-one of these guys, picking off passes. But if you're a receiver like Dell,
Michael Wilson, who can't seperate out of coverages, but we're past that.
We're past that. But he's also a 50-50 guy, and he looks a lot like Ryan, too. So yeah, I won't go that far, but I would say Dell is someone, because of his quickness in and out of his break, is the reason why you think about the type of offense they're going to try to run, the type of passing game you try to run, guys that can think quick on their feet, guys that can get open quick, and Dell is someone that can do that.
All right, let's go to Indianapolis here and look at their best pick. And again, I'm going chalk because you're not doing anything without a quarterback. Emery, I'll come right back to you. They took Anthony Richardson there, which shocked some people because Will Levis was thought to be in that conversation. I think if C.J. Stroud had slipped, maybe he would have been in the conversation. We'll never know. Anthony Richardson, athletically, what does he do for that team in Shane Steichen's offense?
He makes it so dynamic. And when you think about athletic quarterbacks like Richardson playing with great tailbacks, I always bring up this example. CJ2K was CJ2K with Vince Young. He was CJ 1300 with everybody else. Look at Michael Vick and Warwick Dunn had his best yards per carry average when they were paired together. Anthony Richardson is going to help out Jonathan Taylor's yards per carry average, and he's someone, because of his athletic ability like we're seeing here, he can be brought along slowly. He's much more ready to play than people give him credit for. Has a beautiful deep ball where he can connect on that more accurately than he does everything else. It's the short stuff that you want him to work on and be more consistent there. But I feel like his run game will help him get on the field from game one.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, Ryan, since this is your pick. Do you start him or do you start Gardner Minshew? How do you handle that heading into week 1 of the opener?
Let me answer that question as you've answered to me as a general manager. Let's go through OTAs and training camp.
Here's my canned answer.
I respect everything
you and Emery have done to get prepared for this show.
Here's the thing. Like you said that, and there's some truth to that, but I think also you don't want to push him out there too soon, and maybe this sounds soft, but you can affect his confidence, right?
It's like one of those, well, you're from the South, right? Them hunting dogs, if you shoot a shotgun over their head, next thing you know, you're chasing them in a rabbit hole trying to bring them out. We had that conversation in one of the podcasts, why I never become a hunter.
He had to carry the 90-pound dog back to the truck because he's scared of him.
He's scared of him, right? Yeah. So you find out right away if you throw him out there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true.
And he ended up being a great house pet. But
well, you don't want a backup quarterback that you take 4th overall. So you got to ease him into the waters. I think Gardner Minshew can hold the fort down maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. You can have packages for Anthony Richardson and ease him in that way. Are you throwing him out there day one?
I'm throwing him out there day one. We took him high. and he's better than Gardner Minshew.
Well, come on, of course he is.
So why not just play him? You can't learn anything from someone you're better than, So that's why you got to throw him out there right away. So I think that's the best bet for him. Because to Rick's point, you either sink or swim, and you'll find out quickly what you have from a dog perspective with your guy if you throw him out there.
But if you bring him along too quickly and you shatter his confidence and you're saying he's not the right guy, you shouldn't have drafted him to begin with if he didn't have that confidence?
Let's look at what's happening in Florham Park with Zach Wilson and his shattered confidence. Now you start to question whether or not, dang, was he the guy? Should we throw him out there? But if he didn't respond the way you expect him to respond, then you got your answer right there. I still will believe in Zach Wilson, though, by the way.
And not to get off a different topic, but I think with Aaron Rodgers coming in, it takes all the pressure off him. He can sit back and maybe recheck. Takes some pressure off Joe Douglas as well because he had two Rookie of the Years last year. He brought in Aaron Rodgers, so that's going to buy some time. And I don't think the Zach Wilson story is over yet.
And by the way, Brock Purdy took a lot of pressure off Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance, and winning all those football games helps too. So winning in New York or wherever, Indianapolis is certainly going to help. Let's go to my hidden gem. And Rick, there are a couple of options here. Darius Rush, who we loved at the Senior Bowl, and I just mentioned to Emory there, and Josh Downs, the wide receiver out of UNC. I went with Josh Downs. He's in the smallish bucket when we talk about these guys, the Marvin Mims, those sorts of players there. Your thoughts on Josh Downs and what he does for Indianapolis?
Boy, they had all of your favorite guys. You and Chris Ballard must have collided or colluded.
Evan Hull, the running back as well at Northwestern. He was that offense. My guy, Julius Brents, of course. But I went with Josh Downs. What do you think about him in that offense with Alec Pierce, their second-round pick last year? Michael Pittman Jr., who's looking to have a good season.
Yeah, they let Paris Campbell go.
Yep.
So now he's going to come in and replace him. And I think is a more polished slot than Paris. Paris Campbell was almost like a gadget guy because he was a great athlete coming out of Ohio State, but he really never developed into what they thought he was going to develop in. So I think that this guy is going to come in, Downs is going to come in, replace Paris Campbell, and be a better, more productive slot than Paris Campbell was.
All right, going to Tennessee here. Last year in the third round, they took Malik Willis. They apparently are not sold on Malik Willis because they traded up to pick 33 early on day 2 to get Will Levis. There were some conversations that they tried to trade into the first round to get Will Levis. Clearly that didn't happen, so he spent the one night longer in Kansas City. Rick, I'll come back to you. Is this a good fit for Will Levis? We just talked about Anthony Richardson not having to start right away, or if you're Emory, maybe you push him out there. What are you doing with Will Levis with Ryan Tannehill, 35 years old in the final year of his career?
Yeah, I think both the quarterbacks we just talked about, Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, it would behoove them to sit back behind a veteran, to get their feet wet. Don't force them in too early and let them learn, because both of them have tremendous ability. But I think him behind Tannehill, give him an opportunity to maybe learn decision-making, because that's an issue with him. Decision-making for Anthony Richardson, because that's an issue with him as well. So both of these players, except Anthony Richardson, I mean, you love Gardner Minshew. You would throw him in. I don't know. But at least they have someone that's functional as a starting quarterback if they want to force him in right away.
Let me ask you a serious question, because we were at the pro day. We talked to him at the combine. His upper body strength makes him look like an edge rusher. Are you having conversations before you draft him? Are you having conversations after he's in the building about getting him on a workout routine that makes him more flexible?
Well, you never want to have those conversations, any conversations after. Everything or any issue that you have with a player, any red flag that you have with him, you want to make sure that you have those conversations before you end up drafting him, because if you draft him, don't have the answers to the questions, then you're going to make a mistake.
All right, let's talk about the hidden gem. Derrick Henry is the dude, and that offense runs through Derrick Henry, and I think that helps Will Levis or whoever's under center for the Titans. But they got Tyjae Spears, a dude out of Tulane. He looks nothing like Derrick Henry. He looks like me standing next to you. But tell me about Tyjae Spears, because he is special.
Yeah, he is special. He has great explosiveness, and it was shocking to see him fall, but it was even more shocking to find out why he fell.
Yeah.
No ACL. But when you combine that with how explosive he is, it didn't make sense, because he's able to hit that re-acceleration like you want to see, able to shift gears and find that second and third gear. This helps them continue to stay dynamic in the run game and stay explosive. You hope he has an extended career, be more on the Thurman Thomas side as opposed to a short inside. But I root for the kid because he was the spark plug that led this Tulane resurgence, and they had a lot of fun uptown because they were winning a lot of big games.
USC sticks out.
Yeah.
Is there anyone outside of Louisiana that you do like?
It's tough, man. It's the best state in the. I'm sorry. It's the state of New Orleans. Louisiana is something else.
Okay.
New Orleans is its own property. It's like New Orleans, D.C.
Okay.
New Orleans, D.C. District of New Orleans. All right, we got it. By the way, you talk about Will Levis being 33rd overall pick. Andy Dalton, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, and Jalen Hurts. Those are all quarterbacks selected in round 2 to make the Pro Bowl the last 20 years. All right, let's go to Jacksonville. And, I mean, they continue to crush things with Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke, and, of course, franchise quarterback Trevor Lawrence. The best pick for me, and we're going to come right back to you because this is your dude as well, Tank Bigsby. What better gift for a young quarterback than a dude who can just carry the ball for you, get 4 or 5 or 6 yards every time he touches it?
What I love about the fit here for him is that when you think about someone in Travis Etienne, he's the pace setter. He could be the pace setter. He can be the guy that can step in and, wear down the defense. And now you bring in a Travis Etienne, and he's going to hit the home run. So you find someone that needs volume. He's a straight downhill runner, doesn't waste time getting north and south. And to me, that's something that they needed. That's something that's going to help enhance their run game. It's going to help prolong Travis Etienne's career. So I love the fit here specifically for Bigsby.
My hidden gem is Penn State tight end, Brenton Strange. We talked about him last night, Rick, and I'll just come back to you. You didn't like my comp, although you sort of did. Tommy Trimble blocking you like, Tommy Trimble catching not so much. But this guy is incredibly athletic. He loves to block. Evan Ingram isn't going to necessarily block for you. He's only on the franchise tag, so you have to sort out whether you're going to keep Evan Ingram or not at a premium. And you have Brenton Strange here who can be there for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I want to ask you, I just want to throw something, but do you think he is just an H-back? Or do you think he can play on the line of scrimmage and be a true Y or a traditional tight end?
I think his best football is ahead of him. And if you're willing to block, that gets you as in line.
Okay, we're in a draft meeting, and I just asked you a direct question.
Yes.
And you went down some rabbit hole that I didn't want to hear. Can he line up and play Y, traditional Y tight end on the line of scrimmage?
Yes.
Why?
Because he will block you into the stands.
Okay. Sorry. God, you get so mad in these podcasts.
He gave me the okay, Rick. He just said okay. All right. Okay. Then.
Okay.
Moving
sorry.
on. Most tight ends selected in the first 2 rounds in the common draft era. 6 in this draft class. You have to go back to 1973 for the last time that happened. Let's